Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
Hello, everyone! Welcome back to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And after a little delay, and this is a very unique delay, by the way, considering that this isn't caused by technical difficulties. Believe it or not, I was actually stuck in traffic. I was out doing an acting thing that I'm not going to disclose just yet. Oh, thank you for the sub right there, TK. Very generous of you. But yeah, I was out and there was just major traffic and I came in a little late, admittedly. So I am a little bit in a rushed, hectic mode, but hopefully I will go and disperse this energy onto this podcast because we really do have a wild one. And speaking of which, this is actually a pretty special episode. Considering that there wasn't an episode last week, I'm gonna go and make things up by bringing in a very special guest. And this one is absolutely special. This is a veteran in the content creation industry. And this is someone who has definitely done a lot of fantastic work, especially with his Dave Does Disney series. And you probably have seen him do tons of collaborations with many others, including, oh, by the way, thank you, King Cerulean, for the subscription there, but including often being a special guest on Tony Goldmar's Escape from Vault's Disney podcast. So please welcome everyone to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Doggans, dude, what's up?
Oh, hi, I didn't see you come in there. How's it going, Matt?
Woo, pretty good. A bit crazy, especially with all the traffic. It has never really happened to me before where I had to come back in like just to do the podcast because like I was out. So it's been nuts for me. What about you?
I live in Southern California, so I wouldn't know anything about traffic, especially given any recent experiences I may have had that may have left me without a car.
Yeah, that is true. But have you been doing better since then?
I have been doing better. I'm getting a little better each day. I'm still, I still can't do my day job, which kind of sucks because I work at Knott's Berry Farm with characters, and the work I do involves a little more mobility than I have just yet, but I'm inching my way back there. But it gives me plenty of time to make videos and stuff that don't pay me nearly as much. But it's
it gives you something to do.
Yes, I get to work on my fun passion projects because I am forbidden from actually paying the bills right now.
Hey, but I mean, it's great to hear that you are at least getting better, that there is some improvement.
Yes, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, so that's nice.
Hey, perfect. So with that said, I do believe we are all set here, and I'm sure the chat wall is just itching to go and begin all this. So Dave, are you ready to go and begin this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast?
I am ready.
Oh, perfect. And chat wall, I'd like to ask you all, are you ready to start this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me hear it now. Let's see. Are we ready? Yes. Oh, that is great to see. People are all prepared. And so, with all that said and done, I do believe now it is time that we shall get things started. And with our first story that we have, well, Dave, I think it is safe to say that you and I are both Disney boys, that even though you do work at Knott's Berry Farm, our heart is definitely with Disney.
It's true.
Have you been watching some interesting things on Disney Plus lately?
When Tony's randomizer picks interesting things for me to watch. I have been, I did, I watched all of Muppets Mayhem on day one, and I was happy with it. I am not caught up on like all the Star Wars shows because there are too many of them and I'm only one man. I've mostly been, when I'm not, using Disney Plus for content, I have mostly been rewatching the original Zorro series because they finally put that on Disney Plus last year.
Right.
And that's a big childhood nostalgic favorite of mine. But yeah, I'm at this point, I'm waiting to hear, because relevant to this news story, I'm waiting to see if there's anything I should prioritize before it goes away.
Yeah, that is a good call, because it is true that when it comes to Disney Plus, it looks like it's going to be an entirely different platform by the end of the year. So let's go and discuss about the big changes coming to Disney Plus. And apparently there's been a new report that, just like Dave has hinted out, that there will be some content that shall be removed from the platform, where once upon a time, Disney was just so committed to putting everything onto Disney Plus, to reveal everything, to open up the Disney vault. But it looks like now they might be limiting to how many things they will be including onto the platform. And it even states here, a quote coming from the CFO of Disney, Christine McCarthy, reading from my source on Deadline. It states that we are in the process of reviewing the content of our DTC services to align with the strategic changes in our approach to content curation. As a result, we will be removing certain content from our streaming platforms and currently expect to take an impairment charge of approximately $1.5 to $1.8 billion. The charge, which will not be recorded in our segment results, will primarily be recognized in the third quarter as we complete our review and remove the content. And just letting you know, we don't really know what specifically are they going to take out. Are they just going to be removing the lesser known content, like some of the older Disney shows that aired on television? Are they removing some of the newer stuff? Honestly, we don't know. It's just a full-on guessing game of what they are removing, but we do know they are going to be removing stuff. But at the same time, there was also another major news, maybe not necessarily related to Disney Plus itself, but in regards to Disney's big strategy with streaming, in which they have also revealed that they may, not 100% sure, but they may be selling Hulu. Yes, Bob Iger is currently in talks with Comcast about the possibility about sharing their stake, in which they own a third of the streaming service Hulu, to Comcast. Reading here from my source, again, coming from Deadline, this is a quote from Bob Iger, in which it states, I mentioned on the first earning call that I did in February when I came back that everything was on the table. And in fact, everything was on the table. I've now had another 3 months to really study this carefully and figure out what it is the best part for us to grow this business. He added a caveat. It has not yet been fully determined what's going to happen, he cautioned, but he described a significant evolution in his thinking about the matter following comments earlier this year that poured cold water on the viability of undifferentiated general entertainment streaming compared to with the potential brands found on Disney. He is thinking that maybe in the future, if they do sell Hulu, they're going to go and bring all that content to Disney Plus to make that a much bigger platform. And there may be a bit of a price to it, in which if that does happen, you could end up seeing a bit of a price hike on Disney Plus, where it might be a bit more expensive, but as an exchange, they will be bringing in some of their biggest content. That means that you could see stuff like Family Guy, Bob's Burgers, King of the Hill, other major content like Always Sunny in Philadelphia, a lot of the big Fox movies, the more adult Fox movies like Die Hard, Alien, Predator, and so much more. Dave, just out of curiosity, how do you personally feel about all this? How do you feel about the big news about what Disney is doing with their streaming plan?
Well, I have a lot of thoughts about it. And with regards to Hulu, I have heard both rumors, or both scuttlebutt, both that Disney is looking to sell their share to Comcast and that Disney is looking to buy out Comcast share so that they'll own it wholesale. And, you know, knowing Disney as we know it, I feel like one of those is the more likely scenario than the other. But I also know that a big part of the reason Chapek was ousted is that the shareholders were not satisfied with Disney's streaming strategy, which is interesting because the reason Disney fans didn't like him is, you know, all the crap he pulled with theme parks, but the shareholders were happy with that because it was still making them money. The Disney fans were pretty happy with how Disney Plus was doing, but the shareholders weren't. And, you know, things like making so many Pixar releases be Disney Plus exclusive. I think are we lost?
No, you're back. Don't worry.
Okay. I think things like making so many of Pixar's releases Disney Plus exclusive were things that sort of hurt the company because they weren't bringing in additional revenue streams because it was pretty much just the Disney Plus subscription and they weren't really driving more subscriptions. And part of that is just the streaming bubble in general. You know, there's a finite number of people who are going to subscribe to your service, and you're never going to get the same growth that you get in the opening year of a streaming service. But considering that the reason Chapek was ousted and Iger was brought back in was at least in part because of dissatisfaction with the streaming results, it does not surprise me that they're looking to change up their strategies. And considering how for decades, Disney's business model hinged so much on the Disney Vault and creating artificial scarcity around certain films and TV shows. It was surprising when Disney Plus started at all that it had so much content from the archives with the assumption that like this will be available forever, because that was so counter to the Disney experience as we knew it. So it does not surprise me that they're looking to, at the very least, temporarily remove some things. I don't know how much we need to worry about it yet, because this could mean anything from like, you won't get to see Davy Crockett on Disney Plus anymore, but you'll still be able to find the DVD, to like it could mean something as little as that, or it could mean, hey, like 3 Disney Plus originals are now nowhere to be found. It's like, are they going to go full Zaslav with it? We don't know. But yeah. The biggest reason I have to be concerned is that Disney Plus has removed things from the service before. You know, there are things that used to be available on Disney Plus that then weren't for a while, usually because of other contracts with other streamers that they had to negotiate. And that was never newsworthy. So for them to make an actual announcement about it, this is probably something bigger than just, hey, for a while, Home Alone's going to be on HBO Max instead or whatever.
Yeah, that is a good point. And, you know, it's funny because I'm from Canada. And the thing is that in here, we don't have Hulu. Technically, our Disney Plus is already integrated with Hulu. So that's why we were able to already go and watch stuff like a Family Guy and Futurama and Bob's Burgers and all those shows. And I kind of feel like there is a little bit of a trade-off to the whole strategy where, yes, there may be some content that they're going to go remove, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's some of the smaller, irrelevant stuff. Like if they're going to go and get rid of things like The Ghosts of Buxley Hall or Mr. Boogedy, you know, the TV movies that nobody really cares about. But on the plus side, they're going to add in like the shows that I have mentioned, like on my Disney Plus, or if you go on Canadian Disney Plus, they say that some of the most popular shows that people would go and watch there are things like Family Guy, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Bob's Burgers, and many, many more. So I can imagine that's going to really boost up the subscriptions for Disney. But one thing you have mentioned, and it's actually very interesting, is in regards to Bob Chapek's strategy. And you could tell in 2022 where things have been going very, very bad. The fact that they have been losing millions upon millions of subscribers because they lost the contract to cricket, which really upset a lot of Indians. So it pretty much made them pull out of Disney Plus. That, and also what happened to the animated films, where because of the pandemic, people are just not used to going to the movie theaters, especially when it comes to watching Disney's animated films, which is a key reason as to why films like Lightyear and Strange World ended up becoming major box office bombs. So in that regard, I can imagine that's the key thing that really made shareholders massively upset and had to go and kick out Bob Chapek. So now, I don't know if the consequences are still going to linger on, because pretty soon we are going to have Elemental, but I guess we will wait and see with how that goes with that feature film. But yeah, I do understand where you are going with it about why this is such a significant thing. And if they are going to announce it, then yeah, they're probably going to do some significant changes where, yeah, like at the end of 2023, Disney Plus is not going to be the same.
They're also in the US, they recently brought things like Deadpool to Disney Plus. And they're sort of things that are there for marketing reasons, because they're working on Deadpool 3 and they want to get hype up for that. But that is like testing the waters in bringing less family-friendly content to Disney Plus instead of relegating it to Hulu. And it's interesting to see how much of that is both, early marketing for Deadpool 3 and how much is like the testing ground to see how much can they get away with Disney Plus in the US being more than just family-friendly stuff. And also The Simpsons, which is about 60% family-friendly.
Honestly, I could see it working. Like, I don't think that's going to be that big of an issue, because like I said, in places like Canada and in the UK, there's a lot of adult content that you could go and access. They just have a separate section called Star. That's where, like, I guess you could say Star is kind of like the modern version of Touchstone, where if you want to see their more adult-oriented content or their R-rated works, then you would just go into Star. So I can imagine what's going to happen into the US. They're going to conform, like, if this does happen, then they will go and conform Disney Plus to be more like those countries where, like, you'll have a lot of the Disney offerings, but also there will be this adult section where you could check out movies like Die Hard or Alien or Prey or whatever.
That does seem likely. I already kind of miss Hulu as it was when it first formed, when it was actually a collaboration of, multiple studios and networks coming together to create a service for people to watch TV that they missed last night the next day. It's like we kind of have, in a lot of ways, we have lost to thank for the proliferation of Hulu. Because that was like ABC's first big hit. That was like, you cannot miss an episode of this show. Right. And so that was like, that really paved the way for the modern streaming era of, or the segue into the modern streaming era of, it's still network television, but you want to have access to it online in case you missed it. And, for a show that left so many people disappointed, it did kind of invent the modern entertainment landscape in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that is true. Well, I mean, it's not going to be finishing up. It's just going to be at the point where they're going to be sold to Comcast.
It's going to be a different animal. It's no longer going to be a general streaming service where you get a lot of things. It's going to be more, whether Disney ends up with it or Comcast ends up with it, it's going to be more a single studio's place for their things. Maybe there will be some exchange, maybe they'll still have some cross-studio content on there, but it's going to be more of a, like every streaming service has become, like they're all now tied to specific brands, and very few of them are places where just everything is anymore.
Although I will say, like, even Disney is actually currently doing that, because I think today they actually revealed that for Avatar: The Way of Water, not only are they releasing it on Disney Plus, but they're also going to go and release it on Max, which is honestly it's a very interesting strategy that, like, even Disney is kind of jumping on board to go and present their movies in other platforms. So, like, maybe that, like,
I wonder.
Yeah, go on.
I wonder if, like, way back when they were starting the Avatar franchise, like, Fox had a contract with HBO where they were like, we'll get to show these movies on TV first or something, and this is still, like, tied to whatever that contract was.
If that were the case, that would be interesting. That could actually explain a lot. Like, it kind of makes me wonder, is like, why is Disney even doing business, like, with HBO Max? Is it like some kind of IOU thing after, like, all the Warner Brothers shows on Hulu?
That's possible. You know, the thing about, like, studio and network contracts is they rarely actually make sense, but they are all very complicated and must be followed to the letter.
Apparently on the chat wall, someone states that they also did that with West Side Story, apparently. Okay, that's interesting.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, some of these might be part of, like, Fox contracts that predate the Disney buyout and still have to be honored. Or it could just be that Disney is like, well, fine, if you want to give us money for the thing that we're also offering people, we'll take your money too.
I guess it just so happens to just, like, really tie in with what's currently happening with the whole change up, that, and, like, Disney is simultaneously announcing a whole bunch of new things and new plans that they are doing with their streaming platform, to the point that any extra bits, it's like, you feel like, is this part of the whole deal? Is this part of the strategy? Wait, what's happening? Why is Avatar going to Max? But well, yeah.
I mean, confusing messaging is a long-standing Disney tradition. It's going back to, again, we talked about the box office disappointment of Lightyear, and I don't think it's all blamed on this, but I don't think it helped people get excited when they were all confused by that Chris Evans tweet about, like, this is the story of the man, not the toy, or
yeah, that is true.
Like, they eventually got on board with consistent messaging of, this is the movie Andy saw when he was a kid, but the messaging at the start of announcing Lightyear just had everybody befuddled.
Yeah, no, it caused more problems for people than solutions. Like, technically they did make a path that, like, it's easy to understand, but, like, it's hard to break through the idea that this is not the same Buzz Lightyear like in Toy Story. Even though, like, technically, that was the whole plot line of the first Toy Story in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and now I want to ask you all, how do you feel about the new strategy that they are doing at Disney with Disney Plus? Do you think you're excited to see what the future will hold with this new plan? Do you think this might be something that will screw them over? Let me know what you all think on this. Let's see. Now it all makes sense to why Flamin' Hot is going to be on both Hulu and Disney Plus. I just feel like Disney isn't as confident with Hulu anymore and wants to either merge it with Disney Plus, or selling Hulu and Disney will keep or remove content Disney might not want anymore. But it's too early to tell because of how vague the announcement really is. Side note, we meet again, Doggans, and this is from Jonathan. Are you familiar with a guy named... Are you familiar with a guy named Jonathan?
I know a couple people named Jonathan, and it could be any of the ones I'm thinking of.
It could be. It definitely could be. Let's see. I don't have too much to say here, considering last time two streaming services combined, it didn't end great. And even then, I don't use Hulu for anything other than Animaniacs, so... Fish are weird, right? I mean, what about the sea bass? Is there any land bass we don't know about? This bad comedy routine is brought to you by the country of Belgium. That's it. It's just Belgium. Freaking Belgium. I knew it's always the freaking Belgians.
We got Marshall Erickson in the chat.
Yes. Let's see. I actually do feel very mixed on this. On one hand, I kind of understand why Disney would go ahead and remove content on Disney Plus, but it is disappointing that they have to do so. But I can see how this can help expand the streaming service and even more, and maybe have more adult content and content that's not directly from Disney. It's why some of the Spider-Man movies are on Disney Plus right now, for instance. Oh, that is true. Don't forget that pretty soon there is also the Sony deal. Like, there is that deal that eventually that many of those new movies and even some of the like popular movies like Jumanji and Hotel Transylvania will come to Disney Plus.
I still have yet to hear anything about if that Sony deal includes the Muppet movies that Sony owns, and that's what I really care about.
Yeah, that is true. When is it gonna happen? Muppets Take Manhattan on Disney Plus.
We're waiting.
Yeah. Muppets from Space, come home!
Muppets Take Manhattan was referenced in Muppets Mayhem, so it's canon.
That is true. That is true.
As is apparently Meet the Feebles.
Oh God, yeah. Oh, that was still a shocker. I still need to process that.
I was, spoiler alert, I guess, for anyone who hasn't watched Muppets Mayhem yet, but I spat my drink out. Like I could not believe it.
I was shocked they even got away. There are some things in Muppets Mayhem that I was shocked they got away with. Oh my God. I did not expect Muppets Mayhem to be edgy.
I thought, like, at the start, I thought, like, this feels on the edgy side for Disney Muppets to even have Cheech and Chong show up and be visibly high. And then it just, so many little jokes throughout that I was like, this isn't the edgiest joke I've ever heard. It's just edgier than I expected Disney Plus to sign off on.
Yes. Or like for the Disney Muppet brand, like that, like,
yeah,
that,
exactly.
Like suddenly they're really pushing the envelope. All right. I think I'll read one more comment before we take our first break. It's going to be weird for families to finish Encanto and then see that they have been recommended Sons of Anarchy or Family Guy to watch. I'm going to be honest, I'm not surprised that they want to combine Disney Plus and Hulu together since the rumors in 2010 and bringing in Daredevil, Logan, and Deadpool into Disney Plus. But the biggest question is, how will it affect future Disney Plus content? Will we see more adult Marvel content, or will adult animated series be made for Disney Plus exclusively for years to come? That remains to be seen, honestly. I doubt it, but I think like Disney needs to make a brand that is like the adult that like they need to go and really emphasize the Star content. Like if they say that it's from Star, then people will know that it's on Disney Plus.
Yeah. They need to bring back, they don't necessarily need to bring back Touchstone specifically, but they need to have a Touchstone that is like the easily identifiable grown-up brand.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like what it's like what they're doing right now in Canada and the UK and other places. Like that, like for us, it's called Star.
Mm-hmm. And obviously Sons of Anarchy will be recommended after you watch Smart House because they both have Katie Seagal. So
yes. All right, so with that said, we're gonna go and take our first break, and speaking of one platform, soon we're gonna go and jump onto the other, but instead of one that we do like Disney Plus, it's one that we love to hate. And we are back. Now, when it comes to our next story, we will be discussing about a platform that we love to hate, yet ironically frequent, which is Twitter. I mean, you definitely are a Twitter user, Dave?
Yeah, it's, you know, every once in a while I think I wish I could quit it, but the good thing about the new ownership is it has shown me exactly where my limit is, and that is I will never spend money for it.
That is true. And for me, honestly, I feel like ever since the new management, I'm just pretty much in a who cares kind of mood. Like I'm pretty much at the point where I'm posting on social media. It's like, oh, so should I say this or not? Should I be careful? Screw it, I'll post it anyways. This thing is gonna blow up regardless, so might as well make the most out of it. Like I just went full opportunistic and just like go with the flow, and it's like, okay, you want me to post this? All right, I'll just go and do that. But there seems to be a bit of a change happening onto Twitter in the hopes that things can be better, but the more you look into it, the more it's just nah, not really. Yes, and what I am talking about, by the way, is in regards to the new CEO. Yes, one of the big things that has happened last week was that Elon Musk has revealed that he is going to step down as the CEO of Twitter. And when he first initially announced this, he stated that there was this unnamed female CEO that he's going to bring on board to go and do the job. But it didn't take long for the internet to go and find out who it is. And it is none other than the sales chief at NBC Universal, Linda Yaccarino, to which now she's going to be in charge as the CEO and will be focusing on the business aspect of Twitter and hopefully to go and bring in more advertisers onto the platform. Meanwhile, with
you mean all the advertisers? You mean all the advertisers that Elon scared away with his terrible practices?
Yeah, well, yep, that's part of them. But at the same time, when it comes to Elon Musk, even though he's no longer going to be the CEO, he is still going to be in charge. Like, he will be the head honcho who will have the final say on everything on Twitter. And on top of that, he will be focusing more on the technological side, in which he's going to be focusing more on the new features that will be included onto his vision of Twitter. In fact, it is stated here, again, from my source on Deadline, I am excited to welcome Linda Yaccarino as the new CEO of Twitter. Linda will focus primarily on business operations, while I focus on product and design and new technology. Looking forward to working with Linda to transform this platform into X, the everything app. And on top of that, basically this is the big thing, is the fact that now we got a brand new CEO of Twitter, and that in a way Linda will be part of the new face of the platform. But of course, with anything new that involves Twitter, there is going to be backlash. And this time around, we actually got a very rare occurrence in which the majority of people, or I would even say almost everyone, is upset of the fact that Linda Yaccarino is the new CEO. And it's not just the Elon Musk haters, but even the Elon Musk fanboys seem to be rather upset. This time, passing around to my source on Rolling Stone, it says here that almost immediately, however, most found reasons to distrust Yaccarino. Leftists and liberals noted that in 2018, Donald Trump appointed Yaccarino to the President's Council of Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition. While it's not particularly damning a connection to the embattled politician, she also follows a number of right-wing extremists on Twitter, from the anti-LGBTQ account Libs of TikTok and conspiracy theorist Jack Posobiec to attorney Lynn Wood, a former Trump lawyer known for his connections to the QAnon movement and pushing the lie that the 2020 election was stolen. She also follows CatTurd2, a popular pro-Trump shitposter who consistently amplifies far-right propaganda. Yet these same right-wingers are also mad about Yaccarino coming aboard at Twitter. One reason the MAGA crowd disapproves is that she collaborated with the Biden administration on a COVID-19 vaccination campaign in her role as chair of the Ad Council. Vaccine skeptics who rely on Twitter to spread health misinformation were livid when they heard of her record on the issue. It didn't help either that Yaccarino is also executive chair of the World Economic Forum, an international lobby for corporate interests that sit at the center of many right-wing conspiracy theories. Steve Bannon was among those to complain that Musk had given the CEO job to a Davos globalist, referring to the Swiss mountain resort where the WEF holds an annual conference, calling the move a joke in a post on the social network Getter. So yeah, even if he accomplished his promise of finding a new CEO, things are still not looking good, and it doesn't look like anything is improving so far.
Well, the funniest thing about this, if you ask me, is it just goes to show that no matter how hard you pander to reactionaries, they will still eventually react to you. They will find something you do. Like, for all that the right likes to make fun of the left for like purity tests and everything, we all know that hypocrisy on the right is prerequisite. In fact,
it's pretty much an asset. It's all they do. It's just like they thrive for the hypocrisy. They don't have any morals. They only care about things that they can do that no one else should.
Yeah, and the best thing to come out of this is it's funny watching everyone that Elon was trying to suck up to this whole time turn on him too. We'll see how long they turn on him. I'm sure he'll make some terrible joke about being woke and they'll all be like, we knew you were one of us or whatever. But for now, it is funny to see the people he is trying so hard to impress not be impressed by him. And, you know, Twitter has never really been good. So
that is true.
Like, the most impressive thing Elon's done is somehow make it worse. And this does not look like it will turn it around and make it better, but we'll see. I guess we'll see how much worse it is now that it has potentially a more potentially competent CEO, even if an ideologically sketchy CEO, but still under the same incompetent ownership. We'll see what it looks like.
Well, yeah, but the funny thing is that we know what the problems are, especially a lot of the big problems with Twitter. And the funny thing is that like right now they are in a major mode that they are oh so desperate to go and get advertisers to come back and keep the Twitter engine running, because so far they have just been depleting again and again because of Elon's reactionary comments, and especially in recent years where he has really gone into the far-right extremist route, especially with the conspiracies and the lies that he would go and spread regarding the murder of Jordan Neely, and even in terms of the Nazi mass shooter from Allen, Texas, where he tries to go and try to deny that that the mass shooter is a conservative who follows people like Tim Pool and libs of TikTok. So like he has become increasingly unhinged, which I can imagine really does turn off a whole bunch of advertisers. So by bringing her on board, like hopefully it would try to go and bring them back. But honestly, I really doubt it, because the biggest problem, if they really do want to bring those advertisers back, if they want a confirmation that it is a safe platform, is that the dude needs to take his politics out of the equation, that he needs to go and do the things that he would personally disagree with, but it needs to be done if he wants to have more revenue to flow on the platform. He needs to go and restrict hate speech. He needs to go and he himself be more politically neutral. He needs to be more protective towards trans people to make sure that it's a platform for them, that they could be safe, so that people are not allowed to do things such as discrimination, dead naming, and all that kind of stuff. But the thing is, considering Yaccarino's beliefs, considering that she does follow the same people as those mass shooters, it's hard to really know that is that really going to happen, especially when Elon himself is still massively in charge. Like, when I first saw the news, like when it popped out, like I was in shock, but then the more I read about it and the more I realized nothing is going to change. Technically, Elon's position is he's still going to do the exact same things like he did before. If anything, he hired a scapegoat. He hired someone whom will take more the responsibility of anything that would go wrong. And I know this might sound bad, but I think it's kind of a strategy that he did hire a female CEO, especially for his fan base in particular, that if anything does go wrong, then of course they're going to immediately go after the woman. Like basically Elon wants to get his own version of Kathleen Kennedy. He wants to have a woman who is in a position of power that if things don't go right, or if his fanboys get upset, then they know that the person that they're going to go and pin the blame on will be Yaccarino. Again, I know it really does sound bad, but unfortunately, we do live in an age where misogynistic voices have been louder than they have been in recent years.
Yeah, you're not wrong. The one thing that might change is not knowing much about her track record myself, like not having followed her career super closely, but she does seem to have more actual business experience than Elon does. So even if she is still as politically gross as Elon is, she might be better at compartmentalizing and putting her own politics aside and doing what's better for the company. So she might be better at enacting policy within the company and actually sweet talking the advertisers and convincing them that the company is, that she's putting a better face on the company. The question is if she does have good ideas on how to turn things around, the question is whether or not Elon will allow them to happen.
That's the key thing. Like, I'm sure, as you said, like, I'm sure she's more competent in terms of setting her politics aside to put the business first, to make sure that the money does flow before she would put any of her political biases. But that's the big question. Will Elon allow that to happen? Will Elon allow to sacrifice his own will those political biases be sacrificed in order to make the money flow better? That is going to be a big mystery. I mean, like, if she can be able to find a way to do that, then yeah, she'll be considered the ultimate savior of the platform. But if not, like, if those politics are still remain intact on Twitter, then yeah, I don't think there's going to be enough changes to really go and make any updates, especially if Elon is technically still in charge, if he still owns the platform entirely, because he may not have the CEO title, but he is still the big boss of it all. He is still Yaccarino's boss, whom he needs to have the final say on everything. And if she has any smart business practices in order to bring in advertisers, but Elon doesn't want to do it, well, I mean, it's ultimately his say, and that's where things may ultimately fall apart. And at that point, nothing's really going to change. It really is like the old saying goes, that the more things change, the more things remain the same. And that's what we are seeing here. Like, Elon is trying to go and change things up, especially in terms of the business aspect of Twitter, but it's really not different than how things have been, especially this year.
Yeah, I mean, maybe she'll surprise us, but I really don't expect anything to actually even if it gets better for the business somehow, I don't expect the user experience to get any better.
Oh no, it's going to, like, I'm sure that's still going to decline more and more. And at this rate, and especially with how Elon is right now, it's definitely not going to get better. If it's not going to be the advertisers that will take it down, it's going to be the massive decrease of users in the platform because of the heavy amount of toxicity, or especially if there are more crimes that happen, like what happened in Allen, Texas, and we hear more that it has been influence of the toxicity that has been brewed onto Twitter. That's just going to make things even worse.
Yep.
Yeah, but either way, I'm honestly just out of curiosity. In your opinion, do you feel like Twitter will last long? Do you think like Twitter is still going to survive throughout all this, or do you think that that there is like a time frame of its inevitable demise?
I don't know, honestly, because a lot of Twitter alternatives have been popping up, and every week it seems like a new one is the one that's catching on, but then next week you don't hear about it anymore. Like, like every week there's like a Mastodon or Hive or Blue Sky, and some of them are still, they're still going, but they're not like none of them have really changed the conversation the way Twitter did when it was new. And it's possible that Twitter will continue chugging along. Again, even if all the new CEO does is restructure things from a business standpoint to make it maybe not more profitable, but to make it bleed less money than it was doing. Like, since Elon took over, every day I'm like, this could go away at any minute, and it's still going. Even if all the new CEO does is hire back the engineers who knew what they were doing, that Elon would just fire willy-nilly, that could certainly prolong its life. But, I will say that Twitter has done the impossible as of late and make Facebook seem more pleasant than it used to be.
Yes,
But
that is so true. Like for me, Facebook has become my escapism from Twitter.
yeah. So I don't know. I think what's likely to happen is that Twitter will continue, but it's going to be either the toxic people will drive the rest of us away and it's just going to be like another like 4chan or whatever, or it's just going to fade from relevancy and it's going to be, like it's going to go the way of MySpace or something where it's like it's still around longer than you think it is, but people aren't really using it as much anymore. But I don't know. I could be completely wrong. I'm not a tech expert.
That does bring up a very good point. And, honestly, if it's not going to be Elon's stupidity or his shenanigans that's going to take down Twitter, then I guess it really does depend on the younger generation. Because I recently read an article in regards to Facebook and how that platform has been dying because of the disinterest of the younger generation, like from Gen Z and beyond, because they view Facebook as an old people's website. And with how things are going with Twitter, if the younger generation starts to view Twitter as a very toxic platform and that they would go and abandon it, then I think that may seal the deal. In that regard, maybe the death won't be imminent, won't be immediate, and maybe they'll even survive through 2023. But like in a few years' time, probably like in 3 to 5 years, we're not going to see Twitter anymore because like the situation has gone that bad. But then again, like in terms of finances, like every time I hear about like the current financial situation of Twitter, it's just been going awful, especially when there's been numerous of reports that they've never paid the bills. Even my source here, a different source, even states, according to Bloomberg, Twitter is behind paying over $10 million in various bills to a wide range of vendors, many of them small businesses that rely on the revenue. 4 vendors filed a joint lawsuit in April over a breach of contract regarding unpaid bills, according to the report. Since December alone, at least 10 other vendors have sued Twitter on similar grounds. So already they're in a very bad position. And already there's been tons of reports about how they just don't pay their bills, that, that we don't know if it's because they don't actually have the money and because of like all the different firings that they would do. And with the way how the platform has been very glitchy. Also, it feels like it's been more frequent than ever that there's been a lot of bugs. Even for me, I feel like it's rare that I would even get the desktop version of Twitter to even work in the first place. So at that point, its future feels very uncertain. But with each with each controversy and with each problem that may occur, I feel like it feels more and more likely that yes, Twitter would definitely shut down, especially with the way that Elon Musk would run. And especially if his fanboys start to turn on him, like what happened with Yaccarino, because I'm just going to say this right now. The far right is not going to like her whatsoever, considering that she is part of their crazy little conspiracy theories. But if this does keep happening, where his far right fanboys have been hating Elon more and more because of some of the practices that he would do, even if he would try to make like these conspiracy theories and spreading misinformation and stuff like that, then they will be the ones that will ultimately abandon Elon, in which that could ultimately cause the big mass exodus, in which it's a platform in which no one's happy, and then everything will be gone.
There's another potential outcome, which is Elon ends up selling Twitter to somebody who actually is competent and actually can turn it around. But I don't know if Elon's too stubborn to sell it at this point.
I mean, like, considering the recent reports that like now the value of Twitter is around like half of what he actually did pay, or even less. I don't know. I think he would have to be really desperate to go and sell it. Like, the situation would have to be so bad with Twitter that he would have no choice but to let it go.
Yeah, I don't know what would actually drive him to that point, but I could see Zuckerberg being excited to like snap up Twitter at like a percentage of what it cost when Elon bought it, and then add it to the Meta empire. And for all of Facebook and Zuckerberg and Meta's awfulness, they at least know how to run social media sites. They don't know how to turn them into virtual reality, apparently, but they know how to run base level social media sites.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I don't know what would drive Elon to face the facts that he destroyed this thing and to cut his losses and sell it at a huge loss to himself. And unless he just has like some business advisor he actually trusts who just tells him like, you just gotta bail at this point. But that does not seem like him. That does not seem like advice he would take.
Nah,
not unless things get really desperate.
He seems like the kind that like the last thing he wants to do is take the L, like no matter what the situation is. So with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about the new CEO of Twitter? And do you think that things will be better for Twitter? Do you think things are about to get worse? I would like to know what you think on this. All right, let's see here. It just seems way too much to ask for even one good thing to happen to Twitter. Even if Linda's 100 times better than Elon, she's already proving to be awful by following those anti-woke accounts. Not to mention that trying to play both sides right now is a terrible idea. With how the right has been poisoned by Trump's influence, it's only a matter of time when Twitter will finally crash, and then I don't know where to go, because I don't care how bad Twitter gets, I am not going back to Tumblr. True. Then again, there's life itself. You don't have to just stick to social media. You can go live your life outside. In other words, I mean, like, if Twitter goes down, we touch grass.
Tumblr is, though, like a pre-existing case study of a social media site whose new owners tanked it, and it does still exist. It's not the powerhouse it was when it was bought, but it slowly trudges along. So who knows?
Yeah, it is true. Like, it is possible that the website could still be alive, but the relevancy will die. Like, not just Tumblr, but even DeviantArt is another prominent example of a platform that used to thrive, but nowadays, like, very few people even use a DeviantArt, especially artists like to present their work. Let's see now. I'm having lots of doubt of how Twitter will be under a new CEO. While I'm happy that Elon Musk is stepping down, I can't help but feel worried that Linda will either enforce more politics or make the platform better. Twitter has been in a downward spiral throughout the last couple of months, and maybe people aren't happy with the platform isn't the same. Let's all hope Linda may make the business better. I just wish it would be better than Elon, but we'll wait and see. I don't know, man. Again, Elon is still in charge.
This is also this is also relevant to what we were talking about with Disney Plus and with Bob Chapek, where the things that the shareholders liked were the things that the customer base didn't, and vice versa with Disney Parks versus Disney Plus. And so, yeah, even if the new CEO is better for the business of Twitter, that does not necessarily mean it's going to be better for the customer experience.
Exactly. Those are two different stories. But then again, it's hard to really imagine if any of Elon's shareholders, rather it be on Twitter, SpaceX, or Tesla, are happy with him. I haven't heard good things so far. Let's see. While I'm more than ecstatic to see Elon finally stepping down, this is ultimately more of a, I wouldn't say freed, more like under new management moment. Oh, absolutely. Though in fairness, I don't think anything platform-wise is going to change too big, especially not the way Elon did it. Seriously, in the 5 weeks he has left, I'm convinced Elon's going to make it so that the only way to use Twitter is to use a Wii nunchuck that's on fire and dipped with mustard. That's another thing I realized that could really kill Twitter. If business isn't doing better, and then Elon puts in a paywall, like if you want to just access it in general, like that, I mean, the chances are unlikely, but it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Well, as established, I figured that's where I draw the line is paying for Twitter. So if the entire site ends up behind a paywall, and I will be free.
Yeah, same here. I would be fully done with that platform if that's the case. Let's see. I'll read 2 more comments and then we're going to go on our next break. So yeah, I don't trust the CEO. I hate that Musk is specifying this CEO is a woman. I agree. She is a scapegoat. Put a woman in a position of power, but Musk is still in charge and thus can negate any sort of potential changes she can make. The lady herself seems problematic as well, so I'm not on her side either. I'm going to be on Twitter. I'm going to bet Twitter will die in 2025. I don't think it'll make it in the latter half of the 2020s. Interesting theory. And yeah, she does bring up a very good point, especially when the first time Elon Musk announced it, he didn't say immediately that it was Linda Yaccarino. He just says, I hired a new female CEO, which is like, that in itself is just sketchy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we got one more to read here. I don't know if it's me, but recently I have seen reports of really disturbing content spreading around Twitter, and this may be caused by the non-existent security team on the Twitter HQ alongside other problems. I don't expect that Linda will fix among all those damages that Elon has caused, and that in a few years we will see the best alternative Twitter app after years of other alternative apps coming up and forgetting after a few months, leaving Twitter to be like MySpace. That could definitely be the case right there. But with that said, we're going to go and take a break. And I know it's not necessarily the most positive discussions, but we will go and lighten up the mood when we're going to be looking at least at one trailer that will be coming soon to Max. So stay tuned for that. And we are back. And now it is time that we will be checking out some trailers. And first things first, I need to ask you, Dave, are you a fan of the Gremlins movies?
You know, it's been a long time since I've watched them, but I remember liking them, and you know, their place in pop culture is, I think, really influential in the world of somewhat campy comedic sci-fi horror. I like Joe Dante, and I like puppetry and animatronics, so there's a lot to like in both Gremlins movies. Um, and I also like interesting animation style, so I was intrigued when I saw this teaser we're about to discuss.
Perfect. Well, this is not necessarily the first trailer that has been released of this show, but we are going to be checking out one of the upcoming series that's going to be coming to Max, and surprisingly pretty soon. Time really does fly by. So with that said, let's go ahead and check out the trailer for the upcoming series. Oh, fudge. I almost forgot to do something. Oh boy, yeah. Okay, I'll just keep this on. I'll just keep it like this for now. Let's go ahead and check out Gremlins: Secrets of the Mogwai.
Magic is all around us.
And that is Gremlins: Secrets of the Mogwai, to which the show will be coming soon around next week on May 23rd. So Dave, what did you think about that trailer?
It looks pretty cool. It looks I think it's cool that they're doing a prequel. It looks like they're trying to make up for some of the more culturally insensitive elements of the original movies by really embracing the cultures that they were just kind of borrowing from in the original films. We got James Hong in there. He's always fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that's AJ Locascio doing Gizmo, and he is one of the best voice matches in the business. He was Marty in the Telltale Back to the Future game. He was Han Solo in the recent Lego Star Wars game. He's like one of the best voice actors for,
Impersonations?
recreating for impersonations and for recreating iconic characters when you either can't get the original actor, either because they are incapable of doing it or they just don't want to. I don't know if they offered this to Howie Mandel or not, but I don't know the behind the scenes stories, but
I don't know. Well, I mean,
yeah,
it's been like so long ago. It's been like almost like what, 40 years since like he or give or take that he has done that kind of voice.
mhm. Yeah, I he has an entirely different career. But
I'll say.
but yeah, like the voice cast is very intriguing. I like the animation style. It looks like it's trying to take itself more seriously than say Gremlins 2 did. Which as someone who kind of likes how crazy that movie gets, at least from what I remember, I haven't seen it in probably a decade or two, but I still think it's interesting when a franchise goes with like different stylistic and tonal choices throughout its different iterations. So I'm looking forward to seeing this. I think it looks like it could be a lot of fun.
Interesting. For me, I will say that this is an improvement compared to the last trailer, because the last time that they put out a trailer, I was honestly not that impressed with it, because it really felt like a generic kids series that is Chinese themed. Like, this is just
Sure.
Warner Brothers Discovery trying to appease to the Chinese audience, try to do the same thing like what other studios have done, like with Abominable or Kung Fu Panda, like like how they try to make, or even Wish Dragon, where they try to make like more Chinese centric content so that they could be more appealing to the Chinese crowd. That's what it really did feel like. But this one, I will say, it is more of an improvement, because like now they really do emphasize more the Gremlins aspect, where we do see more of the Gremlins. We do learn more about the lore, or at least like the popular stuff that people know of how it is more emphasized in this entire show. But now that element does take a bit more of an importance. I will say it does, like the human characters and the whole plot line outside of the Gremlins and the Mogwai, it's not that interesting, and it still feels a bit generic. But now I do actually see the potential. I could see how people really can enjoy this because they want to get back into the crazy shenanigans that they remember that the Gremlins would get into. At that point, that's where I could say, now I could see why an audience would want to go and see it. But for me, though, I wouldn't say that this would 100% sell me to say, I gotta see this show. I think for me, more or less, I'm just gonna go and wait until what the general consensus would say. Like, I think I'm gonna rely more on the word of mouth of what's being spread around about this to know if this is gonna really be a show that's worth watching, or if it's one that's like, okay, I could save it for later.
That's also valid, especially because there is so much to watch. And, as much as this teaser did leave me looking forward to this, I know myself and I know how often I see a teaser that looks good, but then the show comes out and I forget the show is out and then don't watch it until like 3 years later. So,
yeah. And not to mention, I'm just going to say now. Oh, sorry. Do you want to go or?
No. It's just, I think it looks good, but I do agree with you that it doesn't look like it's necessarily must-see TV for me, but I think it looks fun.
Yeah, but then again, I do realize I don't think I'm going to be in a rush to go and immediately watch this show, because if this I don't, because let's be honest, we are in an entertainment environment where we don't know if any of these shows are going to continue, because the thing is, I doubt there would be a season 2 of Secrets of the Mogwai, not because I am opposed to the show, but because we are currently facing a massive writer strike.
Yes, writer strike, and also it's on Max, and nothing is safe from Zaslav's whims. So
yeah, that is true. And it makes it worse when you're a Canadian, because the thing is, we don't have HBO Max or whatever. The thing is that when it comes to the content that's released from there, it's like scattered around many different platforms. So like if you want to have all the content at once to have Max, then you have to go and order like 3 different streaming platforms in order to actually go and get like all the content you would have. Technically, we do have something called Crave, which is the closest thing to actually having Max, but we don't have everything. Like, if I want to go and watch something like the Looney Tunes cartoons or Primal, then I would have to go elsewhere. I have to go and order like either Global or Teletoon Plus or whatever. It's just, it's so convoluted.
We are in that fun part of the streaming boom where you can just say random words as if they're streaming services and nobody will question it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm sure you got confused when I said stuff like Crave or Teletoon Plus or whatever. But yeah, no, those are some of the ones that we do have. Like, trust me, like you know your main ones in America, but outside of that, that's where things get even more messed up and convoluted. Like, be thankful that you know your main ones, because for us, it really is a matter of picking and choosing.
Even in the US, though, like, we all know the main ones, but then it's like, what the hell is Freevee? Like, where did that come from? and
Tubi? Roku?
Just looking on, like, we have the Roku device on our TV, and every day we're looking at it and it's like, well, apparently we can install this channel we've never heard of. Anything on it? Not that we care about. Okay.
Oh yeah, it's just, the streaming wars is much messier than you may think when you fully dive into it. Like, just stick to like some of the bigger ones, not all, because it does get pretty expensive, but yeah. And also, please try as much as you can to take advantage of just sharing. Sharing is caring, folks. And I mean, I know people like Netflix, they ain't a fan of sharing, but try as you might, because you never know when like companies are just going to take that away from you. But yeah, overall though, I gotta say, when it comes to this show, when it comes to Gremlins Secret of the Mogwai, it is an improvement that I have noticed from last time, but is that something I'm immediately going to go and watch? Not 100%. Again, I'm just going to wait on the word of mouth in terms of what people are going to say about the show, but I do see its potential. And I mean, and again, like the animation is pretty nice. It's not bad. It is pretty appealing to watch. But other than that, though, like, I don't know if this is going to be something that only Gremlins fans are really going to get into, or if it's going to really find a new audience and be like Max's next big hit. But we will see. We will see. All right, so with that said, I'd like to go into the chat wall, and now I want to ask you all, what did you think about this trailer of Secrets of the Mogwai? Did you guys like it? Did you guys not get into it? I'd like to know what you all think on this. Let's see now. The animation is impressive. Gizmo is as adorable as always. The voice acting is pretty good, and I am intrigued with the lore of the Mogwai, but the story itself is what I have a problem with a generic villain and somewhat generic kid who befriends Gizmo, and the invasion of the Gremlins, which was basically what the first film, what the films were about in the first place, is a bit tiring, but I am still willing to check it out, so we'll wait and see what it's like. And yeah, like, I do agree with that statement there. It does have a very impressive voice cast, and from what I've heard in the trailers, the voices are pretty good, but the human characters and the elements outside of the Gremlins or what was from the movie, yeah, they're like, they do feel like a bit of an Achilles heel where they might bring this show down. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Maybe the problem is not as bad, but I don't know, like, anything is possible with this. Let's see now. I gotta say, this trailer is definitely an improvement. I already stated that I'm not a huge fan of the Gremlins movies, but I do appreciate them. I really like the Gremlins aspect of the show and could have potential. The animation is pretty nice looking, but I do think the human aspect might not be great. So overall, I might give it a chance. Let's see. Well, at least they acknowledge the rules of the Mogwai. Forgetting the fact that it is a show instead of a movie, I feel like it spoiled much of the plot, especially with the big bad / wrong hands reveal. Oh yeah, with the villain that wants to take over the world. But then again, it might sound like something that they would establish right at the beginning. Let's see. Though I am not a gigantic Gremlins fan, since to me they always look more like mammalian Furbies, despite Gremlins coming first, this does pique my interest. For one, some of the Mulan voice actors are involved, including Ming-Na Wen, James Hong, and George Takei. Secondly, the animation. It has a nice 2D cel-shaded type of animation, which makes the show look like a moving painting. Though I do hope it survives long enough to not be extremely affected by the writer's strike. I guess we will see on that part. And I guess we'll just go into 2 more comments and then we get into our next break. Well, this certainly is better than the teaser trailer, but it is still not that appealing to me. While the animation style is really nice, the characters are just rather boring from what it is shown, and while the Mogwai lore is interesting, the story does feel like it's on the same quality, but who knows, maybe they can finally explain more of the don't feed them after midnight rule. Okay, fair enough. Let's see. This looks like a cute show. I love the animation style as well. This looks more impressive to me than Wish. Oh, dang, what a hot take. Just a nice use of animation. A sort of flattened art style, Asian representation. This looks like fun. Gizmo is a very marketable character, so Warner Brothers should probably merchandise the heck out of him. The ugly cute sells. Oh, well, I guess I can't deny that. All right, so now we're going to go... What? Go on?
That is something I've heard some people bring up, is if part of the reason they're trying to bring Gizmo back into the zeitgeist is to sort of ride that wave of, like, Grogu merch and do that with Gizmo merch.
That is true. I mean, like, you look at Grogu, he does look so much like... He does look like Gizmo, and I mean, technically the other way around.
I think Joe Dante even called Lucasfilm out on that Grogu is like he kind of accused him of being a takeoff of Gizmo, which I mean, I can see it, but I think it's really just what would a Yoda look like if he was small. But
yeah, I feel like it's much more of a coincidence, but there's no denying that you could see the parallels.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on a sec. I think I might sneeze, actually. No, okay. Oh, there it is. Okay. Excuse me. All right, so we're going to go into another break, and we will be seeing another Max trailer, but instead of something that is made for kids, we are going to be seeing the comeback of a series, but it's definitely more adult than Secrets of the Mogwai. All right, so we are back, and now I want to go and ask Dave. Well, actually, during our break, we did actually talk about this, but you remember watching Clone High?
I think I watched through it all in college, probably. It's been a while since I've revisited it, but I remember really liking it. Again, I don't know what in it, haven't revisited. I'm sure things have aged poorly in it, but I remember liking it a lot. And of course, its creators have gone on to quite a bit of success since then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, time flies, and I mean the success that Lord and Miller has seen over the years, it's astronomical for sure. But even though we have heard for like many years that there would be a season 2 of Clone High, the moment has finally arrived, or technically just a few years. Oh, and by the way, thank you, Meta Ralph, for the subscription. But now we are finally going to witness the great comeback of the original creators that started it all for Lord and Miller. So with that said, let us now go and check out the brand new trailer of season 2 of Clone High.
Joan of Arc, the love of my life.
And that is the new trailer of Clone High, to which it will be released on on Max again, just like with Secrets of the Mogwai on May 23rd. So, Dave, what did you think of this trailer?
It looks like a lot of out of context gags that may work better in context. I don't think it necessarily looks like a downgrade from Clone High as I remember it. So, I do need to rewatch the original before diving into this one, because again, it's been so long. I know there's I know the original had controversy regarding the Gandhi character, and that's why he's not back for this one. So, which, not my place to say what the best course of action for that was, but I generally trust Lord and Miller to know what they're doing, and if they're like, the fact that they're actually actively involved makes me more optimistic than I would be otherwise. But it really does seem like they're pinning all the marketing on, remember how much you liked this show, here's more of it. And not really selling me on why there needs to be more of it, other than it was, a show that's usually on the list of unfairly canceled shows.
Yeah, I definitely do see what you mean. Now, one thing that I will say, much like with the previous trailer of Secrets of the Mogwai, I think this definitely is an improvement compared to the last trailer, because I'm just going to say it, that last trailer pretty much sucked. Like that one, like the comedy just felt bad. It felt like that it was trying to be Clone High, but there's just something about it that didn't really work, and that the comedy is just, it flat out sucked. But this one, I will say, like, it has better humor. Like, there are some jokes in here that I think worked out a lot better. One joke that I did find funny, especially like the first time around, it gave me a good laugh, was actually with JFK when he's in the woodworking shop and then suddenly has the nail gun in his pants, and all you see is just Confucius is like, I can't walk, and then just brings up his phone. Like, that, I'll admit, like, it did give me a good laugh. And another positive thing I will say is that it did manage to sell on the idea of the setting, of how they've established the idea that this is Clone High, but now set in 2023 instead of 2003, and like trying to add in the details of how are they going to adapt to the newer times that we are in right now. Like, that is a good thing, and that is something that we would expect out of Clone High. But you do bring up a good point that there is one flaw with this, and that is the factor that it doesn't necessarily answer the big question of why is it that we really need another Clone High? Like, I'm sure there are people that would want to bring it back because it only had one season with just a handful of episodes. But now that it is back, do we really need it? And that's one thing that, like, it still makes me a little bit iffy, because I remember back then, like, yeah, it was a stupid show, but it was a stupid show in a good way. It's like the fun kind of stupid that, you know, that can give you a good laugh and can give you a good time, similarly to something like Aqua Teen Hunger Force or some of the other Adult Swim shows. Despite the fact that this isn't necessarily an Adult Swim show, but that's another story there. But like, yeah, you do see that same kind of stupidity, and that, yeah, they are bringing back Clone High, but there's not enough of it that really says to me or to anyone if this is really something that is much needed. That, you know, like, yeah, we are getting our wish, but is this a wish that we really do want? Is this going to really be on the level of what we had in the first series? Honestly, that I don't know. And it's funny that you do bring up the whole element of Gandhi, because yeah, I think it is safe to say it's confirmed that Gandhi is just gone. They're just gonna get rid of the character altogether, and in their place they're just gonna bring in Confucius, Frida, and Harriet Tubman. Like, now those are gonna be the new characters that will be part of the main cast. And if any of them are going to be able to replace the manic energy of Gandhi, that's going to be a tall order to fill. But I know that's going to be an aspect that I get why they have to do it. But that's still, that's going to be something that might cause controversy amongst fans, and that it might be something that they might not enjoy as much, that they're going to miss Gandhi. Because, like, he definitely was a standout character, and, like, definitely a memorable one that some could even say really made the show.
Yeah, I think it's too early for me to specifically say this isn't worth doing, because, again, Lord and Miller generally have, for a long time, their reputation was the guys who make bad ideas turn out good. And I trust that if they thought it was worth going back to, now that they're, like, again, producing Spider, like, it's very funny to me that a Clone High trailer says from the producers of Into the Spider-Verse. It's like that to me is the funniest part of the trailer. But it is a question of, like, is them returning to this sort of thing after doing so many other things, like, is this really where their strengths are anymore? Because, like, I think we can look at the diminishing returns of the Arrested Development revival, for instance. You know, that was the show that everyone was like, it's unfair, it was canceled. So Netflix brought it back, and, you know, I liked that first Netflix season okay, but it wasn't the same. And then, you know, the longer the revival kept going, just the less satisfied its audience really was. And sometimes shows that are canceled prematurely are actually canceled at just the right moment for the cults to really form around them, and for them to you know, it's the formula of, like, a cult classic usually comes out of something that has a lot of good in it, but also has some flaws that hold it back from finding a wider audience. But then the audience that does connect with the good parts only really sees the good in it and sees its premature cancellation as a scandal. Whereas then if the show goes on a little longer, maybe some of those cracks can show a little more, and people can see, oh, this doesn't quite have the legs we thought it did. And I'm not necessarily saying that Clone High is one of those scenarios, but I am prepared for this to be good, but I'm also prepared for it to be a disappointment. I am kind of prepared both ways.
Yeah, and there is also another thing that in the back of my mind is kind of worried about the return of Clone High, and that maybe it's not a great idea, even with Lord and Miller that are attached. Like, yeah, Lord and Miller has produced and they have worked on like plenty of incredible things, including Spider-Verse or Mitchell vs. the Machines and stuff like that. But there was also one other movie that they have produced that recently came out that sounds like they are the perfect fit for this, but it's honestly one of the worst movies on Netflix. Have you ever heard of America the Motion Picture?
I've heard of it. I never watched it.
Yeah, okay, so this is a movie. It was released back in 2021, and it was produced by Lord and Miller, along with the guys who have made Archer, along with Channing Tatum, and I think a few others as well. But yeah, like those are like some of the major influencers that are a part of this. And America the Motion Picture, it's pretty much like what you would expect out of like a Lord and Miller style retelling of the founding of America, like something that is like completely inaccurate, completely bonkers, and just like be off the wall with that Lord and Miller type of humor. But it was terrible. Like the jokes do not work whatsoever. It turned out to be a massive flop. So and like how bad, and especially when the jokes, like they try way too hard. It's the kind of movie where they deliver like a gag, like a gag a second, and like all of them fail, which makes the experience excruciating. So now that they are going back into this historical revisionism frat boy style mentality with Clone High, it kind of makes me worried if it does make me worried if what we have witnessed with America the Motion Picture might be foreshadowing with what could be to come with Clone High, and that with this new season, the jokes are, that we might see a lot of the plot lines or the humor or like everything that really made America the Motion Picture bad might also rub off on Clone High, where Lord and Miller doesn't necessarily have that touch in terms of making comedic historical revisionism.
Yeah, we'll see. It like I said, I might actually watch it, and it turns out, oh, it's just as good. It's like they never left, and it also just could be a disappointment. This is the whole reason. This is the whole reason Bob Gale keeps saying that they'll never do a Back to the Future 4. Because like he's like, everyone asked for one, and if we did it, you'd be disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
And
or
instead, they'll just
sorry to interrupt, but or even a better example, what happened with Space Jam? After 25 years, they made a new sequel that people demanded, and that turned out to be a disaster.
Even though the original Space Jam is also just what it is, but people are nostalgic for that one.
Yeah, that is one thing that is very much fueled by nostalgia. But yeah, overall though, I think I agree with you. I think this could be something that could go either way. Like with this trailer, it does help me out to be a bit more positive where this could have potential, but at the same time, the factor that this may turn out to be a disappointment, or that this may turn out to be not a good show whatsoever, it's not out of the realm of possibility. So yeah, we will see what will happen, but who knows? Like, well, it's gonna be pretty soon. It's gonna be next week that we will go and figure that out. But I mean, hey, it's all up in the air. I mean, we'll see what the word of mouth is going to be.
Absolutely.
All right, so with that said, I'd like to know into the chat wall, and I'd like to ask you all, what do you all think about the new trailer that we have seen with Clone High? Are you on board with this new season? Is this trailer really convincing you that this is going to be a great new addition to Clone High, a great new comeback, or do you have any doubts? Let me know what you all think on this. Let's see. While it is sad yet understandable why the most favorite Clone High character Gandhi has to get the axe, I do still look forward to seeing it. I'm curious to how many more historical figures will be cloned. I might like Harriet Tubman and Frida. All right. Now, this is a much better trailer than the previous one. The jokes at the premise are already looking great so far. My favorite joke is obviously the butler robot being cheated on a VCR. Also, that animation style in that scene is definitely the Ralph Bakshi style we have all seen with Fritz the Cat. I think we are in safe hands, you guys. I trust Lord and Miller in their own show. All right, so we got some optimism there. While I personally am not a huge fan of Clone High, I do really appreciate the show, and I honestly feel very mixed. Some of the humor is pretty good, but I will admit that I think it could end up being a disappointment, since there could be some high expectations considering how beloved the original series is. So overall, we'll see what happens. All right, fair enough. Not gonna lie, this trailer is better than the previous one. It gives us more of what we can expect. The humor is funny, especially with the butler and VCR, and the animation is on par with the original. While I'm a little mixed if it will be worth it or not, but I hope Lord and Miller will do the job right with the comeback of Clone High. Brace yourselves for more JFK memes. All right. Anyone else? Well, I personally am not a huge. No, I know. I think. Did I read this one? It's just some of them feel like they're becoming a bit the same. While I'm personally not a huge fan of Clone High, I do appreciate the show, and I honestly feel very mixed. Some of the humor is pretty good, but I will admit that I think it could. Oh no, I already did read this one. Sorry about that. Okay, there we go.
Right. A lot of cautious optimism in the comments.
Yeah, exactly. I think they all share your same feeling of just cautious optimism. All right, let's see. For Clone High, with its new trailer, it seems like it shows some improvement, but it still doesn't change much in terms of how Season 2 looks overall. I just hope that it doesn't suck after going through America the Motion Picture. I sure hope Lord and Miller do know what they are doing. All right, after messing up with the first trailer, this is a much needed improvement. Not only is the humor a massive improvement, with my favorite joke being Butlertron being cheated on with a VCR, but we are getting a lot more solid grasp with the story, though I am still iffy with the designs on the new characters. While I can understand some doubt on how this could fail, we have seen some revivals that have managed to be highly praised, like Hey Arnold, The Jungle Movie, and Invader Zim Enter the Florpus. Well, I mean, those ones are Nickelodeon. This one is a little bit different, but ultimately we will see. I mean, it could work out, it might not, but it's going to be up in the air. I think, honestly, I think the best way to say it is just we will have to wait and see. I understand all the cautious optimism. I do feel cautiously optimistic as well, and I think it's safe to say Dave is as well. But who knows how it's going to go? We will know next week on May 23rd. And so with that, we got one more break we will get into, and once we get into our final story, that is when we will go and discuss something that is a bit more on an even lighter note, where not only is the Clone High gang reuniting, but also a classic 90s show.
So I've been hearing two very different Donkey Kong voices as we've been watching these things.
Yeah, all right, but we are now back on, and with that said, it is now time that we shall enter upon into the grand finale. And with this grand finale, we were actually just talking about Donkey Kong having some voices. And Dave, could you also repeat to me your thoughts, or if you have seen the Donkey Kong Country series, the one from the late 1990s?
I saw one episode of it in the 90s. I didn't have a lot of TV channels growing up, so it was, at someone else's house it was on. And I was kind of mesmerized by it because at the time I hadn't seen a lot of 3D CG animated TV shows. Like, CG animation was just for movies, not for television. And it definitely was of its time and budget in the animation style, but I was still like, wow, this is like ambitious for a children's television show. Even as a child, I was cognizant of the fact that, like, clearly they're trying something here that nobody else marketing towards me is trying. in television animation, because like when they brought Buzz Lightyear to TV, they turned him to 2D animation. So, uh,
Yeah, I understand. But for me, I just got to say right now, considering I was a 90s kid from Canada, I grew up in the age where CG television animation was really at its prime to go and experiment. And I don't mean, and I don't mean just like VeggieTales. I mean, like, I had stuff like Reboot, for example, that was highly prominent, or like even some of the things they would show either on Teletoon or YTV, like our versions of Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network, that they would show a lot of like early CG stuff. And I actually grew up with the Donkey Kong Country series. So you can imagine, much to my surprise, when very recently the cast actually was reunited. Yes, there was a brand new animated short that was released on YouTube, specifically from the animator Alex Henderson, along with the studio Bootleg Dub Productions, in which they created a video called Return to Crocodile Isle, in which it's more of a musical segment where we see King K. Rool come back to his crew and plots like this revenge mission against Donkey Kong. But one thing that really does stand out is the fact that many of the original voice actors from the Donkey Kong Country series actually returned to provide their voices onto the animated short. These include Richard Yearwood as Donkey Kong, Benedict Campbell as King K. Rool, Adrian Truss as General Clump, and Ron Rubin as Captain Scurvy. And by the way, it's also worth mentioning that this is actually a spiritual successor to a previous video that Alex Henderson and his team have actually done called Curse of the Crystal Coconut, in which he took a metal version of one of the songs that was sung in the show called Curse of the Crystal I think it's called Curse of the Crystal Coconut, but like they took a metal version of that song and made an entire musical video out of it. And not to mention presenting a very unique style, something similar to what we have seen with Secrets of the Mogwai, or even some of the modern 2D CG style, like we have seen, for example, in The Bad Guys. Like it's a great comparison. Here, and to show you what I mean, allow me to go and present to you just a small taste of the show. Like, let's just watch a little clip of what they have done with it.
In individuals, insanity is rare, but in crews, cutthroats, countries, and cremaspheres, it is the rule. There once was a gremlin dynasty. The land was lush and we ruled the sea. We lived our lives so peacefully as a harmonious crew.
A quiet place.
No monkey business.
His conquest and vengeance cost this.
Our dental was better too.
No, I can barely chew.
All right, so that was just like a little example of that, but if you watch the whole thing, it's just massively impressive. And there's actually a rumor going around, and apparently this is something that Alex Henderson himself actually stated in the comments, that he wants to go, that a part of the reason why he created this, or one thing he wanted to use this, is to be a pitch, not necessarily to turn it into a series or to make a full-on Donkey Kong Country reboot, but rather to pitch it to Illumination Entertainment so that he can come in and help out on a potential Donkey Kong movie, if they choose to go and work on that. So, just out of curiosity, Dave, what did you think of the video?
I thought it was pretty cool. I don't know if this is a hot take, but I thought that song was a lot better than Jack Black's Peach's song in the Mario movie.
Dang, really?
Which I didn't dislike. I only finally saw the movie yesterday because I've been, incapacitated. I didn't dislike that, but like from the way the internet was like blowing up over it, I kind of expected more from it. And also when I first heard the internet obsessing over Bowser singing Peaches, I thought they were talking about the Presidents of the USA song. it's a song from the 90s that I was expecting. It's like, that's weird that Bowser sings that. It's like, oh no, it's just an original song with the same name.
It sounds like an Animaniacs song from the way you described it.
But I thought this short was really cool. I did like the animation style. I think it would be beneficial for Illumination to work outside of their house style for a while, because while I mostly enjoyed the Mario movie, I thought it was really cute and there was a lot I liked in it. But for the first chunk where Mario and Luigi are just, working on a bathroom in an apartment, that part felt like, stylistically, it felt like Mario and Luigi had been plugged into a Secret Life of Pets short. And,
yeah, especially with the dog.
Yeah.
I do see where you're going with that. I do agree. But one thing I will say is that there have been some evidence where we do see Illumination working on other styles. Like they put out, I think not too long ago or several months ago, they put out a clip of an animated short that they have been producing, and it's like completely psychedelic. It is something I know it might sound exaggerated to say that it's like something that you have never seen before, but oh yeah, I like, if you're looking for Illumination to go outside of the common style that they would produce in their animated films, oh they got some, and some of the things that they do, it is massively impressive. And I do hope one day that whatever they worked on, whatever they would work on with those kinds of animated shorts, that they would soon apply that onto their movies, because man, that's gonna be a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, that'd be great. Again, all the other big animation studios eventually do experiment away from their house style, and sometimes it pays off better than other times, but it's, for my money, always worth the experiment.
Oh yeah. Yeah, sometimes they might post out some absolute cringe that are horrible and that they should never do again, but sometimes when it works, oh my god, they are very well rewarded.
And as for this short in particular, I always like it when basically a fan film gets original cast members for it. Again, that's a thing that sometimes pays off better than other times, but it is always an impressive calling card when a fan film can say, we got the guy from the real thing. And in this case, many of the voices from the real thing. And yeah, I liked the song. I liked the animation style. I thought it would be, if this is the direction they go for a Donkey Kong Country movie, I don't necessarily expect this pitch to pay off, because I think it's rare that making an unsolicited fan project can actually get you hired by the real company.
I would disagree. There have been some evidence, and I think the best proof is actually Sonic. Sonic, there have been a few instances. Sonic Prime was actually a game made by a bunch of Sonic fans. And not to mention, there's one artist who was a prominent designer in the Sonic movies. He was actually the one who many years ago created this weird, crazy Sonic comic animation, or he created this bizarre do you remember this Sonic parody comic where you got characters, it's not tails, it's arms, or Shadow makes an appearance and they would say original the character, do not steal. Yeah, and that artist would go on to actually work on the Sonic movie. So that I do understand where you're coming from.
It's possible.
Yeah, I do understand where you're coming from, where just because you make some really cool fan work, that doesn't mean you're going to be part of the official thing. But nowadays it has become more and more likely where many of those viral projects that they could legitimately turn into big opportunities to play a significant role in the real deal. And if that does happen, I'll just finish. But if that does happen, I feel I don't think Alex Henderson would suddenly become the director of the Donkey Kong movie. But I can imagine they can integrate his style into other ways. Maybe you would have one flashback scene, or you would have like a dream sequence that could be a that could be a musical number, and they would bring him on board. Because especially nowadays, this style has become very popular. It has become very mainstream to try to go and take CG and you would give it like this unique filter. And it seems to be Alex Henderson's signature style that he would do. Like, he has done that with many of his other projects, and I think he has produced either an independent short or an independent film with that style, where you have these anthropomorphic animals on like a crazy adventure. And in this case here, like, yeah, it fits perfectly with what he would usually do. And especially it fits so well. And not to mention giving the Donkey Kong franchise a fresh look, because not only does it look good as is, but even in terms of something that's Donkey Kong related, it actually does look great. Like, could you imagine an entire game that looks like this?
Yeah, I had that thought watching this. It's like, I would love to see a side-scrolling Donkey Kong Country game in this style, with this art style. There's a lot I'd love to see. So I guess I'll amend my statement where it's rarer for a fan artist to be hired like in a position of like creative control by the real company. I guess it is more common to be hired like as an artist. I also, though, strongly suspect that if Illumination is doing the Donkey Kong Country movie, they probably want to reuse as many models and assets from the Mario movie as possible. They
of course. It's Illumination. They're known for cutting corners. They're known for keeping a reasonably decent budget onto their films. So that's why I say it's more possible that they would do just like one dream sequence that would be like 3 to 5 minutes long, more so than an entire movie that would look like this. So yeah, and not to mention like even the casting, like it's great to see like the original actors, but they're gonna have like their big name celebrities like Seth Rogen still be involved with this. Like, they already got their cast in place. But still though, hearing the like, as someone who grew up with Donkey Kong, like or who grew up with the Donkey Kong Country series, like honestly it was a really nice surprise. At first, admittedly, I didn't really notice it, but then like when it was mentioned, like I was surprised. Like, I knew there was something up when there was the big Actra Toronto logo that showed up by the end. Like, I didn't know that they would go as far as hire union actors. And then suddenly I hear the reports, or I think a friend told me that it was actually the original actors that were playing their respective roles. Like, that was the original King K. Rool and the original Donkey Kong at the end, and that was a massive shock. And honestly, it was like a very pleasant surprise. And the more that I think about it, suddenly suddenly my memory kicked in, like, oh yeah, that is how they sound. Like, oh my God. And like even if you compare that to how they are now, like, there's barely much of a difference. I mean, it's been like what, like just under 25 years since the original Donkey Kong series, and they still sound like how they were before. Like, they still got it.
Yeah.
So yeah, overall, I would say that this is definitely a great, this is definitely a great discovery. I mean, this is definitely great to see this animated short, and also just want to do like, well, this isn't sponsored or anything, but I just want to do my own little promo for Alex Henderson. And I feel like this is going to be a new animator on the internet to go and keep an eye out for, because if this is the kind of content that he would go and produce, I think this is going to be one who will be going places. Like, you're going to see this style be a lot more prominent, be more viral, and that we're going to see animators be influenced by this guy.
I fully expect that Henderson will get a job from this, not necessarily with Illumination or Nintendo, but like, I feel like some studio will come out and there will be some hirings from them.
Oh yeah, like there is going to be an opportunity shall come for sure. I think that is most likely going to be the case,
or at least some job offers.
Oh, absolutely. Like something is going to happen, but we'll let time tell. But this right here, I gotta say, is very impressive. And I just want to say congratulations to Alex Henderson and the entire team at Bootleg Dub Productions for the incredible work that they have done on Return to Crocodile Isle. Such a fantastic short, and highly recommend that you go and check it out in its entirety. Definitely definitely a fun watch right there. All right, so with that said, I'd like to go into the chat wall. And now I would like to go and ask you all, how do you feel about the Return to Crocodile Isle animated short? How do you feel about all this, and how do you feel about the reunion of some of the cast from Donkey Kong Country? Let me know what you think on this. Let's see. Oh, and also, just to add, if you have any opinions or any thoughts you would like to express regarding Donkey Kong Country or regarding the animated series, I want to know your thoughts on that too. Let's see. I gotta say, this animation was really well done. Personally, I haven't watched the Donkey Kong Country cartoon, although it was definitely a product of its time. It really is nice to see the original cast reuniting to participate in this fan animation. And I would honestly love to see this art style be used in an animated project, and it would really give fan creators opportunities. Definitely. Let's see now. As an animator myself, I am absolutely impressed with this. I really want to do a hand-drawn style CG animation one day. I already know how to do CG animation, but I really want to try it. So yeah, this is absolutely fantastic, and I'll watch it again. Let's see. Unrelated, but did you see Nox Robin's Captain N reboot pitch animatic? That is a good question, actually. I don't I do have connections with Robbins, definitely a cool acquaintance of mine, but, I honestly, I have heard that he has done a pitch, but I don't know if I've seen the actual animatic myself. I would have to go and double check. Worst case, I'll ask Ian if he still has it on file, and then I'll just go and watch it myself. All right, let's see now. When I saw this short on social media, I had no idea what this is about, and I'm hearing good things about it. And I find this one to be very good. The animation and musical song numbers were very impressive, as this one, I believe, should have made a reboot series or a movie out of it. I know this is a one and done deal, but I wish I could see something like this if it were to come to life. Oh, absolutely. Like, if they would do I'll say now, if Nintendo ever chooses to do a full-on reboot of the Donkey Kong Country series, then they got to do it like this. I don't think there's any other way, because like right now, I think Alex Henderson has indirectly set the bar high for this one.
That honestly, I feel like is more of a possibility than Henderson being put in charge of the Donkey Kong Country movie, because like I feel like for the movie, Illumination's going to want to reuse all the models and everything from the Mario movie. But for like a Peacock series, that could be a possibility to do it more stylized like this. The same way all those DreamWorks series, some of them are different animation styles than the movies they spun off of.
Yeah, that is a fair point. That could be a strong possibility. But then again, I'm honestly shocked that Illumination has yet to go and make some kind of series spinoff, because like for years I've been waiting for them to go and have like some kind of Minion series, because I thought that would be something that was inevitable, but no, they have yet to do anything about it. I mean, like they have all the reasons to do so, like with all their franchises like Sing or Pets or Despicable Me or Minions, but no, not yet. That has yet to be in the cards.
Yeah, that is weird, because like usually when when a successful family movie doesn't get a TV spinoff, it's usually because they're like, oh, we don't want to oversaturate it. But that's definitely not an issue with Minions.
No, trust me, the general public is always hungry for more of whatever Illumination brings out. So if they would bring in a series based on one of their movies, guaranteed hit right there.
Yeah.
Let's see. I watched this short a few days ago, and I just have to say, holy moly, this is divine. Everything about it was just peak, and I am so glad to see so many Donkey Kong Country's cast coming back for this. As for this being used as a pitch for the DK movie, I would love for it to be used if they could use this version of K. Rool as a villain who is faded into obscurity and is fully ready to destroy everything, just to get DK to pay attention to him. That would make a very interesting narrative, actually. Like, yeah, because it's often rare that you would hear about King K. Rool. Even in terms of the new Donkey Kong games, they never use him. So, like, this kind of comeback, especially with the way they established it, oh man, that would be perfect. You know, it's sad when, like, the only major appearances you have made is just in Super Smash Bros. Let's see. I think I'll read one more comment and then we'll cap this off here. Hold on a sec. Wait. Ah, there we go. Okay. Finally, the computer is waking up. Schnut. Nope. Okay, anyways, this animation actually looks pretty good. I'll definitely check it. Definitely check it out because the card to work that bad. It was pretty accurate to the there we go. It was pretty accurate to the games, and some of the writers from Sonic Saturday AM on ABC helped with the writing about as accurate as that 1988 Super Mario animated hour and 30-minute movie was set. What's self the time? This is like amazing. And with some of the people who worked on the Super Nintendo trilogy of Donkey Kong games lending suggested that support for the TV show really helped. All right, but with that said, I think that should do it for this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Dave, thank you so much for joining me on this. What a wild ride it has been.
It was my pleasure. This was a lot of fun.
Great. And also, before we do go, like for those people who really did enjoy your company and who would want to follow you, where is it that they could find you on the internet?
Well, if Twitter still exists, I'm Doggans on Twitter, Doggans. I am also, that's also my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Doggans, where I post something every Sunday. Sometimes it's a best of clip, but there's always something on the channel every Sunday. This past week, I've been riffing a lot of public domain shorts, including the Fleischer Superman cartoons. So this past week, I riffed the Superman cartoon Electric Earthquake, which is not the most racist cartoon that Superman is in, but not the least either. So, but take that for what it's worth. And I've got another riff coming out this week, and then the week after that, I've got a video in my series, The D-List, where I will be ranking all the movie theme songs written by Weird Al. One of which is a DreamWorks animated movie. So
I know which one you mean, man.
So yeah, I've got videos like that on my YouTube channel. As you mentioned at the top, I've got Dave Does Disney in my archives. I've got other theme park videos about theme park, animation, comedy, some stuff about video games, you know, just the nerdy stuff I'm into, I make videos about. And yeah, check out my channel.
Awesome. And if you have yet to go and follow this podcast, then keep in mind to go and subscribe to the AniMat Live Twitch channel or the AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast YouTube channel. And don't forget to go and follow me on whatever podcast service you're listening to, whether it be on Spotify, Google Play, Amazon, iTunes, and many, many more. And so with that said and done, I would like to say thank you all so much for watching. Tune in for more crazy adventures on AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. And until next time, see you later, dudes. You can say bye too, don't worry.
So long, everyone.